Director Spence had wished to be recognized.
First of all, only in Milwaukee would you find it being front page news that a board inquired information and it be channeled into something much larger than that. It's interesting, for the same information, there were, I think, 7 other school districts that asked for information on dissolution of their districts, and it never came up as a front page item. But for us, it does. And it just boggles the mind how large the leaps of reason can be in these things. Maybe it's good that happened for us, because it did challenge people to think about the issues that our school district is facing with a situation where all sorts of attachments are put onto how we are funded, from the choice issue in the $50–60 million more that the local taxpayers have to pay, to our own self-inflicted wounds in terms of our benefits package. All of these things have to be addressed. We have to be more fiscally responsible. If we don't do what we need to do, we can't necessarily blame others. There's enough blame to be spread around. We didn't get into this alone. It wasn't caused just by the state, but all of these elements have to be repaired. We suffer from, and when I say this, I mean our board, we suffer from this inability to understand why we exist. And I can understand the issues that have caused this. Are we first and foremost an institution that focuses on educating young people? Or are we a social service agency that needs to do a host of other elements before we can even get to the educational component? Or are we the full employment agency of this city? I mean, we've got all of these things that are going on that are confusing what we should focus on. And I'd be the first to say that all 3 of these are important, but what we're charged to do is educate kids. If we're not great at that, then how can we justify our existence? And so I continually ask this board and this community and those who have an impact on what we do to focus primarily on that element. How do we create the educational outcomes that we're charged for in our community with this diverse population of young people that we have? We really have to work on really honing in on that, and we have to be extremely focused. We've talked about that. There has to be a sense of urgency. We've talked about that. This board has to have those elements in place to get us where we need to be and to hold others accountable for those things that they need to do for the young people of this community, because they are also their clients and customers. We can steer our own destiny. We are the ones that control our destiny. If we're courageous enough to challenge ourselves, look ourselves in the face, and deal with these issues. And ask, is this in the best interest, long-term best interest of those who will walk through the doors of Milwaukee Public Schools. Now is the time that we've got to do it. We can't wait. We've been talking about these things for years, whether it's in negotiation of our contracts, whether it's in dealing with issues of services that we can't afford to do internally anymore. We can't be afraid to say, you know what, we're not the best folks to do that. Maybe outsourcing that does make sense. We have to be able to come to grips with too many facilities and not enough kids. If we're not willing to deal with that, then we're putting our resources in the wrong place. And we're responsible for that. No one else is. So I ask my colleagues to think long and hard about our role in this 2008-2009 budget. Think about the $8 or $9 million more that we added in this budget, and ask ourselves, if those things that we added are of importance, then what has to go? What can't we do? I would hate to see a situation where we don't address that, and we come back to our kids and our community and say it was just too hard. So the easiest thing to do would be to just tax more. I realize that we have to work to fix those flaws that are macro in nature, whether it be the funding flaw for choice, or whether it be the entire funding program for school districts across Wisconsin. That we know that has to be fixed, but we have to fix those micro flaws that we've got in how we've managed our own existence. So I'm hoping that through further discussions on this 2008-2009 budget, we dig down deep, have discussion on what we can do, what we can't do, prioritize, and move things forward. Because that's the only way we'll win the trust of our constituents and actually drive education achievement over all of these other elements that seem to be impediments for us in getting to that educational achievement. Thank you, Mr. President.